describing, we're going to desktop because we want to enable the Center of Excellence to gather metrics that are unique and give a really complete view of the landscape of the business. So we're able to do that by, again, using this technology. It's out-of-the-box technology to capture all the application activity for 100% of the user base. And you're seeing an example of that here in a user issues dashboard. This unique solution is going to monitor, again, at the desktop level to deliver those new metrics, the metrics that aren't previously available through other APM tools or, giving you, information about what's going on the back end. By giving that full visibility to the users, it really enables a true measure of business efficiency. Performance for the Center of Excellence, to measure a baseline and track improvement. The data, and when we look at this data, you can see things like errors being collected. It's going to give you a representation of 100% of the errors that are affecting an application. So not just how many user errors are going to be reported, say to the help desk, but a complete picture of the issues affecting the monitored application. So when you have users opening help desk tickets, that's really just a subset, as JP was describing. It could only be as much as 10% of the total number of errors affecting the application and affecting the business. And again, this is all functionality available out of the box, activity levels, true end-to-end response times as you look at the metrics here. And this is going to be for all users, all screens, all transactions. So just to look at the breakdown here, I'm going to select one user as an example. And you can see for this user we have multiple unique metrics being captured. The amount of active time a user spends with the monitored application. You can see a breakdown of that on the right-hand side. This particular selected user accessed 2 applications for X amount of time, about 4.5 hours for one, and then 1.5 hours for a secondary UAT application. We also capture the average response time that the user is perceiving on their interface. So this is going to be the true end-to-end user response time. It's not necessarily the back-end database clock for how long it took to execute a query. It's how long it took for the user to click the button and for the result to be delivered to them. So it's a really unique metric to give you, again, the distinction between perception and reality to validate something like a concern or a complaint that a system is slow. Now with this tool, we're enabling you to see exactly how slow it is and exactly where and exactly who's affected. We also, as you see, track the number of operations. So this is the activity level of individual users. And related to that, the number of system errors and the user errors they experience. So not just the activity level, but the quality of that activity. So we can break this down in a variety of ways, either by application or module, which equates to a transaction code in some cases, individual screens. And we can also see a trend information in the graphs you see displayed here. So you can track activity over time, efficiency and performance over time to see if information is flowing in to indicate that productivity or user performance is going up or down. And with each one of these metrics that we're capturing, there's drill down capability. So we can start at this kind of 1,000-foot view of the landscape, but each one of these individual metrics enables you to drill down into further detail to get to the bottom. We can triage and address issues faster. I'll just select a specific system error metric to give you an idea of how we drill down into this detail. We start with a summary report level, and we can even go to a more detailed level. So all these features translate to benefits. They'll basically clarify perception versus reality in the example which I gave before, where a user or a system user reports that the system or the application is slow. These exact metrics that we can deliver by capturing at every desktop level tell us exactly how slow the application may or may not be, where the activity levels are slowing down, who is affected, all the way down to an individual user or screen level. This is, again, JP mentioned how we're going to bridge the gap between business and technology. The IT department will now be enabled with new metrics. The Center of Excellence now has new insights, again, their objectives to help meet the business goals that they've set before them. The clear line of sight enabling issue prioritization based on business impact. If the COE has initiatives around a specific business process, they now have metrics they can see specific to that process. This also enables reduced risk during change management and additional benefits for training, user support, and other use cases. So looking at this detail here, you can see how we can drill down into the individual information that we're getting from the desktop agents as they collect data. At the lowest level, we get a unique view. This is something unique only available from NOAA, in that the actual user step-by-step workflow is presented in a very easy-to-interpret, very user-friendly, very actionable data format. It's a step-by-step of the user's workflow, which originally starts as a conceptualized business process. The business will design a workflow kind of as a concept, and then they'll execute that through the application that they're using. This takes that from the conceptual to the actual physical. It gives you real data to see information about what a user did step by step, screen by screen. And again, it's easy to interpret this information so that you can reap benefits from that. You can see individual user errors in this example here. And now you have not just the user error, but you have the individual context around that user error. So if a user is struggling, you now have information about where they're struggling and what led up to the particular issue they're suffering from. So you can take actions faster. You can identify the problem faster. The features of the workflow specifically, this is available for every single user that's being monitored in the system. Their full activity is going to be captured from the moment they log on to the moment they log off. We're also going to include any inactive or idle time. So we aggregate that into the reports and dashboards, which you saw previously, and you can actually see, if a user is truly active as they use an application, or if maybe they've stepped away or switched to email, maybe gone to get a cup of coffee. Again, this is enabling us to give the Center of Excellence clear ideas about application adoption, and not just, the amount of time users are spending in an application. If they have an open session, we also give you the quality of that time they're spending in that session. You can see here in this example, you have an SAP application being monitored, and this individual user has multiple sessions open at the same time. So regardless of whether or not the user is moving back and forth to different sessions or different applications, we can capture kind of the whole world view of that activity, or boil it down to the individual issues as needed. Again, benefits from this type of feature: clear picture of the actual user workflow, the executed workflow, versus the concept that was originally designed by the business. And you can compare this from one user to the other. Greater visibility for the Center of Excellence means faster time to triage and resolve issues. Someone in a support role can reduce the mean time to resolution for an existing help desk ticket through using real data that you see here. The reduced time to discover or investigate an issue is really eliminated by eliminating the need to recreate issues or screenshots. You don't need to have a lengthy investigation or interrogation with the users because you already have their workflow information available. This kind of has a ripple effect because your Center of Excellence and your IT support staff is going to be enabled with this tool to be more efficient in their tasks. That's going to actually enable them to resolve issues for the business users faster, which will kind of, again, have the ripple effect. It will result in the business users having more productivity and more user satisfaction, which definitely affects how the business is running. Another example of how we can capture information and kind of break it down is something we like to show here. This is called the Errors Profile Dashboard, specifically around user errors. So the user errors are really where the rubber meets the road. This is going to give you a real idea of how the true business is functioning. The users of your applications run into problems. They may not be reporting them. We can see all the problems that exist in the system by capturing not the users have reported them, and we can take action on those. We can also take information and address issues collectively as opposed to kind of one-on-one. So you can see here, in this view, we have a series of transactions. This is basically like a top 20 list to show me all my individual transactions in the monitored applications. How many errors in the blue are being experienced by a number of users in the green related to that specific transaction. So again, 100% of the errors for the monitored applications are captured. That's either system or error or non-critical messages that the users might be perceiving. The same agent-based technology is going to capture all this information regardless of the application that we're monitoring. So whether or not it's SAP or Salesforce or an Oracle ERP, we can present metrics in this same format for each individual one of those. We can also change the individual kind of way this data is sliced and diced to show you the individual error messages themselves, to show me how many users are experiencing or causing errors. Again, collectively addressing them or giving me the information to collectively address them. You can see an example here. I'm selecting a pure data entry error, filling in all required entry fields. It's happening over 300 times and it's affecting 46 users. We can see that broken down in different ways by using integrated user attributes. What you see here is an actual location breakdown of the individual errors in this particular category, so you can start to get an idea of where the user issues are being experienced and who's affected, whether or not it's a critical area or a location or a critical business team. You can change how the user attributes are presented to show specific information like functional role, for example. And these are very easy to apply, again, through simple integration piece with the solution. Once we have an idea of who's being affected, we can then take action and see, okay, on an individual level, how many users are affected in, say, a specific location. In this case, I'm looking at one individual location, and now we can see we have kind of a discrepancy with the user base. We have some users being affected more than others. This gives us, again, that pinpoint visibility to see where the problems are affecting my user base. This visibility is enabling the COE to take action, to help users who are struggling, to take problems that are affecting the business kind of out of circulation by resolving something collectively, say like an authorization issue that's affecting 10 people. They're able to resolve an issue faster. It could be as simple as updating a security role or sending a quick email to a group of users. That will, again, have the ripple effect where they can resolve the problem faster, drive up user satisfaction, drive up user productivity as a result. And this same dashboard type functionality, again, has information where you can drill down into detailed reports. It also has information like the trend. So to show how the performance and the user errors over time, are things getting better or are things getting worse? So using all of those features, the benefits, again, we've talked about a few of them. This is going to enable proactive user support. We can facilitate resolving issues that are unreported. We can reduce existing issues if those are in the form of help desk tickets. We can reduce those, both the existing tickets plus the flow of tickets coming in. We can create a more efficient COE or IT service desk servicing the business. Okay, and by, again, doing that, we create that ripple effect which we talked about. Enabling a sustainable training organization. By seeing people who are struggling, you can now identify the content where the users are struggling and the delivery area which needs to, where that content should go. So you don't need to necessarily circulate information through surveys or word of mouth. You don't have real data, again, to support a training or a COE or an IT service desk. For example, when you see a user struggling in an area that's like executing sales orders, productivity in that area has a direct bottom line impact. If you can identify someone experiencing 10 errors per day, and reduce that by, say, 50%. That could directly result in more sales orders being processed and more profitability. So that's how we can actually use, the targeted training approach, which is enabled through the metrics we're capturing here. We also have the ability to look at individual business processes and model those using the solution. That you can see, okay, on a very specific level related to, say, a critical process, maybe like you can see sales orders being highlighted here, or something like a quarter-end process. Show me metrics specific to that. This is, again, going to connect the business with the COE through real metrics. We can identify the process itself, and we can model that through the solution by simple configuration of screens or transactions. That's a one-time configuration. And now once you have that configuration built, the performance metrics are available for that critical business process. So again, with this solution, we're enabling teams to see information without a lot of necessary data mining or kind of having to weed through a lot of noise. They have specific information related to critical areas that they need to monitor and they need to drive up productivity. Benefits of this, again, a clear picture of the user executed process, identifying adoption and process performance, identifying areas where a process might have some sort of a gap or a deficiency, and again, that's leading to process optimization and more best practices. These are just some of the unique features and benefits provided by the NOAA solution, and we'd be happy to share more during some other sessions or if you have individual questions. But that's about all the material we have for today. I will turn it.
Well, thank you, Joe, for that outstanding demonstration, and thank you, JP Garbani,